Economic interactions are three parts of the 10 principles of economics. Foreign trade can make everyone better off. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity, and governments can sometimes improve economic outcomes. All three of these principles include abstract words like can, usually, and sometimes in order to highlight the potential for many different scenarios. Economic interactions are three parts of the 10 principles of economics. Foreign trade can make everyone better off. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity, and governments can sometimes improve economic outcomes. All three of these principles include abstract words like can, usually, and sometimes in order to highlight the potential for many different. First is foreign trade. Foreign trade is the exchange of finished goods, intermediate goods, agricultural goods, and services between nations. Trade stimulates the economy and allows for nations to specialize and expand. Countries are able to import and export a greater variety of goods and build international bridges. But foreign trade can make everyone better off. That doesn't mean that it always does. It can create competition between countries. For example, the United States participates heavily in the trade of manufactured goods with China. This takes business away from American companies, thereby only stimulating certain areas of the economy. Another example is the competition between the United States and Japan. American and Japanese firms produce many of the same manufactured goods. Ford and Toyota compete within the market for automobiles. Apple and Sony compete within the same market for digital music players. Depending how you look at it, this is both a benefit and a setback. Overall, however, foreign trade is a necessity. China and Japan are both our partners and competitors within the world economy. The second law of economic interactions is that markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. The market system is sometimes described to have an invisible hand guiding households and firms. This allows for the market to allocate resources more efficiently. The opposite of a market system is having a central planner within the government that organizes economic activity. The world economy is ran mostly with the market system. Other methods have proven less effective in the past, such as communism. The collapse of communism in Russia during the 1980s was debatably one of the most important economic changes in the world within the past century. Communism describes a society where all property is publicly owned and each individual works and is paid according to their needs and abilities. It doesn't work because communism does not see the individual as an end, but as a means to an end. The market system has been working better all around so far. The benefit of each faction of the market being able to make certain decisions relevant to its own circumstance keeps each piece of the machine running smoothly. No one section of the market has complete control over the entire system. This can be seen directly within the circular flowchart. More specifically, the circular flow of income refers to the reciprocal circulation of capital between producers and consumers, or households and firms. Together they maintain certain factors that further the flow of income. More complex and consequentially more accurate circular flowcharts include other factors such as the role of government and financial markets and imported and exported goods. However, no system is flawless. The market system also has setbacks. When firms exploit laborers or become corrupt, you may be left with the unjust monopolies and affronted workers. Not to mention when the market crashes and 500,000 people are suddenly unemployed. The market system, while usually adequate, can be prone to huge swings in business activity, where situations like a recession or a depression are a possibility. The last principle of economic interactions is that governments can sometimes improve market outcomes. This means that when the market system fails to allocate resources efficiently enough, the government can step in. However, government only sometimes actually improves market outcomes. Other times, it might hurt market activity or simply not solve the problem. Governments can set up import quotas, tariffs, and non-trade tariff barriers. These government restrictions relate back to the first law of economic interactions, as they describe governmental regulation over foreign trade. The government does this in hopes of improving economic activity. However, certain policies enacted by the government have unprecedented backlash in unexpected areas. These unanticipated issues are called externalities. Externalities are the effects of a decision on a third party or area of the economy that the decision maker did not necessarily foresee. They can be positive or negative. An example of a negative externality is the government's approval regarding the sale of tobacco. While stimulative and profitable for the economy, secondhand smoke is a negative externality. A commonly used example of a positive economic externality would include the benefits of government funding for educational purposes. Society, in turn, reaps the benefit of having more informed and knowledgeable citizens. A relatively current example of government getting involved to try and resolve an economic issue is Obama's signing of the Wall Street Reform in 2010. After the economic collapse of 2008, there was controversy as to whether there was an acceptable amount of government management over the economy. The Wall Street Reform was put in place in order to protect investors and consumers. It included matters like limiting big and complex financial instruments and making the derivative market more transparent. Whether or not the Wall Street Reform was a valuable government-invoked action remains debated, but it does exhibit a way that the government could or maybe doesn't improve market outcomes.